Even half a block behind him, I could see Sal's body hunch and slow down. I knew what he was doing. He was looking for a way out. Should he pretend he needed to cross the street all of a sudden? That he had just remembered something he needed to buy at Bell's? But it was a little late for that. Marcus was almost in front of him. I could have called out to Sal at that moment. It would have been easy. He would have an excuse to turn around and start walking away from Marcus. And then Marcus might have stopped to talk to me for a minute, and Sal would have seen that it was all okay. He could have dropped his fear of Marcus right then and there. I've thought about this a lot because I realized it would have changed everything that happened later. Instead, I watched, and what Sal did was squat down and pretend to tie his shoe. It was a plea for mercy. Dropping to tie your shoe was an I can't fight, I can't run, I bow down before you sort of move. Plus, just in case some hitting did occur, it protected important body parts. I kept walking while Sal crouched there on the sidewalk, and Marcus walked right by me without even noticing him. Then Marcus walked right by me. Things left behind. Guess what? Anna Marie said when I called at her at home that night to see if she was okay. Someone left a rose on our doormat. For you? I don't know. Maybe. Of course it was for her. Who else would it be for? Was there anything with it? A card? No, just the rose. Her voice sounded all thin and excited. Weird, huh? I wonder... Hey, can I ask you something? Are you not supposed to eat bread? She was quiet. It's not a big deal, just that Julia said... No, she interrupted. It is sort of a big deal. I should have told you. I have epilepsy. Oh. And I'm not supposed to eat bread or starches. It's this crazy diet my dad read about, but it actually works. I'm usually fine. People don't even really know I have it, because for years I've hardly had any seizures at all. Is that what happened today? Yeah, I sort of took a break from my diet. It's been nice working at Jimmy's with you guys, eating whatever I want and not having anyone look at me funny or lecture me. Someone had lectured her, though. Julia had. You can still work at Jimmy's, I said. Just don't eat his crummy food. She laughed. I know. Actually, my dad makes me a lunch every day. I've been throwing it in the garbage on the way to school. He's pretty mad. That was hard to imagine. Anyway, my mother found this rose on our doormat when she got home from work. It's like this really perfect-looking rose. Weird, huh? I let her talk about it a little more, about who might have left it and why. I knew she wanted me to say that Colin probably did it. But I just couldn't make myself say the words. The third note. The next morning was the first really cold day of December. You need the jacket with the hood, Mom rasped from her bed. Her voice never sounded normal until after coffee. Look in the front closet. She seemed to think that it was really helpful to lie in bed listening to the radio and calling out weather reports. I couldn't help thinking about how, in my book, Meg's mother had French toast waiting for Meg in the morning. She was a single mom, too, with Meg's dad being held prisoner halfway across the universe. I found the coat, still streaked with gray from last year's dirty snow, and put it on. A little stiff, but it seemed to fit okay. Where are my gloves? I called. No idea, sorry. Can I take some money? Coat pocket. I felt around in her coat and found a $5 bill and 3 singles in one pocket, and her striped scarf rolled up in the other. I grabbed the singles and the scarf. Bye. The laughing man was still asleep with his head under the mailbox. He had found some cardboard to put underneath him. Still, he must have been freezing. Some mornings I've seen kids banging on the mailbox and yelling, "Wake up, kicker!" I hoped no one would do that today. I watched my breath billowing in front of me and walked towards school. The sun was out but had no warmth yet. I shoved my hands in my pocket and felt a bunch of old tissues. Yuck. And $3 bills. And something else. A little piece of paper folded in half. I pulled it out. I recognized your tiny handwriting right away, all wobbly and with those weird loops you put on top of your T's and I's. You will want proof. 3 p.m. today. Colin's knapsack. Christmas Day. Tesserwell. April 27th, Studio TV 15. P.S. Yawns do serve a purpose. They cool the brain by bringing air high into the nasal passages, which has the effect of increasing alertness. The note was on the same dried-up paper as the first two. 3 p.m. today, Colin's knapsack. I had absolutely no idea what that could mean or how you knew Colin. Christmas Day, Tesserwell. This one had something to do with my book. To tesser meant to travel through space or time or both. It was how Meg got to Kamizoto, the planet where her father was held prisoner. But it had nothing to do with Christmas as far as I knew. April 27th, Studio TV 15. April 27th was Richard's birthday. But of course back in December, I had never heard of Studio 15 since Mom didn't get her postcard from the $20,000 pyramid until a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the P.S. that freaked me out the most. I thought of the day Sal got punched when I'd carried the Mysteries of Science poster home. I read the note over and over until my hands were frozen and I was forced to put them back in my pocket. It made no sense. The only thing it really helped me to understand was that you were watching me, and I had no idea who you were or what you wanted. I was almost to the garage when Marcus came out of his front door, right in front of me. He had on his regular green army jacket, but he was wearing gloves and had a hat pulled down over his ears. I expected him to ignore me like he always did, but instead he waved and started walking along next to me. Things that make no sense. Marcus and I got to Broadway without saying anything. I was thinking. I thought of a question for you, I said finally. Okay. Let's say I build a time machine. I waited to see if he would laugh at this, but he just nodded and looked thoughtful. And let's say I decided I wanted to go back to last Wednesday. Let's say I wanted to go to the movies while the other me is still in school. Okay. I exhaled a big white cloud. I won't get to last Wednesday until after I leave, right? I mean, I won't know if I'm really going to get there until I actually get there, right? In your experience, you won't know if you're going to get there until after you leave. I mean, unless you remember seeing yourself on the street or something. Or we could ask the ticket guy at the theater. He was serious. What? At the movie theater. Which one are you planning to go to? Because we could ask the ticket guy if you were there, and then we'll know whether or not you're going to get there. But I haven't left yet. I haven't even built the time machine. So it doesn't matter when you leave, it's just whether or not you get there that matters. Wait, I take that back. It does matter when you leave, because if you don't leave for 50 years, even if you were there, the ticket guy probably won't recognize you. What are you talking about? Well, let's say you finish your time machine in 50 years. You'd be 62, I said. We were across the street from school waiting for the green light. I could see kids coming from every direction, all bundled up in hats and scarves. Okay, let's say you're 62, and you climb into your machine and go back to last Wednesday, December 1978. You go to the movie theater, and the ticket guy would see a 62-year-old woman, right? Right, I said. So far, everything made sense. So if we went over to the theater today and asked the man whether he saw you there last Wednesday, he'd say no, because his common sense would tell him that you can't be that 62-year-old woman and she can't be you. Get it? I shook my head. If we asked today, he couldn't have seen me anyway. I wouldn't have been there yet because I haven't gone back yet. Duh, said a voice behind us. It's really not all that complicated. I whirled around and saw Julia in a long coat. She was standing right behind us waiting for the light. Marcus ignored her and looked at me. Are you still worrying about that book? About the kids and seeing themselves land in the broccoli? I said nothing. I wasn't going to have Julia hear any more of this conversation. Think of it like this, Marcus said, oblivious to the look she was giving us. Time isn't a line stretching out in front of us going in one direction. Time is just a construct, actually. Look, Julia said, cutting him off. If you really need to know what he means, I'll explain it to you. This should be good, I thought. Julia is going to explain the nature of time. I turned around and looked at her. Fine, go ahead. She pulled off one of her gloves. They were these beautiful, fuzzy, pale yellow gloves, and she yanked a ring from her finger. Think of it like this, she said, holding up the ring. It was gold, studded all the way around with... Are those diamonds, I said? Diamond chips, she shrugged. Look, it's like every moment in time is a diamond sitting on this ring. Pretend the ring is really big with diamonds all around, and each diamond is one moment. Got it? Marcus was silent, looking at her. I laughed. Time is a diamond ring, I said. That explains everything. Thanks. Would you shut up and listen? If you figured out a way to bring yourself to another time, probably through some sort of teleportation, you'd be somehow recreating your atoms, really, not physically moving them. I'm guessing that would be tricky. Can we not worry about that part right now? I said. I'm freezing. We were still standing across the street from the school, even though the light had changed once already and then gone back to red. Okay, put it this way. We're kind of jumping from one diamond to diamond. Like in cartoons where someone is running on a barrel trying to stay on top. We have to keep moving. There's no choice. Now we're in a cartoon on a barrel. She sighed and shook her head. Okay, forget that. Let's stick with the ring. She held it up again. Let's say we're here. She put her fingernail on one diamond chip. And we figure out a way to jump all the way back to here. She pointed to another one, a few chips away. It wouldn't matter where we came from. If we're on that chip, we're at that moment. It doesn't matter where we came from, the chip behind it or 10 chips ahead of it. If we're there, we're there. Get it? No, I don't get it, because what you're saying makes absolutely no... I do, Marcus said quietly. I get it. I know what she means. Thank you, Julia said. I'm glad someone here has a brain. And she stomped off through the red light while Marcus stared after her. I turned to him. So you're saying this diamond chip is just sitting there minding its own business, and then suddenly a bunch of kids land in the diamond chip's broccoli patch? Marcus's face lit up. Stop! I see your problem. You're thinking that time exists on the diamond themselves. It doesn't. Each moment, each diamond is like a snapshot. A snapshot of what? Of everything, everywhere. There's no time in a picture, right? It's the jumping from one diamond to the next that we call time. But like I said, time doesn't really exist. Like that girl just said, a diamond is a moment. And all the diamonds on the ring are happening at the same time. It's like having a drawer full of pictures. On the ring, I said. Yes, all the diamonds exist at once. He looked triumphant. So if you jump backward, you are at that moment, you are in that picture, and you always were there. You always will be there, even if you don't know it yet.